Hey guys, Keith here with Dad's Two Cents. Listen, I want to talk to you today about friends. Do y'all have friends? I'm over 50. Matter of fact, I'll be 60 next month. Whew, it's hard to believe. But I feel great. I mean, I've got a little shoulder injury from a car accident I recently had here a month or so back, and might have to have some surgery there. But so I'm kind of having some issues with that and can't do much with that arm. But other than the car wreck, and other than that, just mainly the shoulder, I feel great at 60. Okay, not that that matters because we're talking about friends today, but I don't have any friends. And, I want to know in the comments, do y'all have friends? At 60, and I know you may say, well, if you get a haircut and shave and, maybe take a bath, hey, you might get, you might get some friends, that might help. I don't know. I don't know really. But, and now let me clarify when I say I don't have any friends. Let me say this. I work from home and, so, I have co-workers, and of course we're all remote, so we all live in different states. Most of us, even the ones of us that live in adjoining states or in the same state, we live, several miles away, right? Hundreds of miles away, probably, for some of us, and so we don't hang out, and that kind of thing. And so when I say I don't have friends, don't mean I don't have friends on Facebook. That doesn't really count. That I mean, you can have 1,000 friends on Facebook, and most of them aren't your friends. Which really, I mean, truthfully, I can post a video or ask a question on Facebook, and I might get 3 people comment, and I might get nobody to comment. So I don't even count that as being friends. I'll just be honest with you. I mean, that's and I'm not trying to offend anybody if my people that are friends on there see it, but I don't consider them what I call friends, because a friend to me is somebody that I can call up. I'm going through something, dealing with something, need somebody to talk to. I want to watch a ball game. Hey, come over and watch the ball game with me, or let's go to a game, or you want to watch a movie, or would you like to go to a movie, or let's go out to eat. Come over and have a beer. Let's get together and do something. I don't know, just let's talk. Let's just goof around, play some music. I play music, so whatever. Just do something. But I don't have anybody like that, and at 60, almost 60 years old, it's sad to me a little bit that I don't have anybody like that. And maybe it's me. Maybe it's it could be something wrong with me. I'm not going to say there's not, but I feel like I'm a pretty friendly guy, pretty outgoing. I like to have fun and joke. I joke around a lot. I'm a smart aleck. I'll admit it. But I try to let everybody know that I kid around a lot. So I don't just go around putting people down or nothing like that. I try to be friendly to people that I meet, on the street or at a store or whatever, and I meet a lot of people. And of course, the job I do, I have a lot of customers. I mean, I talk to people all the time, make friends daily. As far as, but they're all long distance. They're all on the phone. Again, not going to hang out with them. Not going to go, go out to dinner or go to a nightclub or something, or just like say come over and have watch a movie or a game or something like that. Just don't have that kind of friendship, and so that's kind of the thing I want to talk about today. And I'm just curious, do you all at 50 plus, do you have friends? Maybe you're 40 plus, maybe you're 30 plus, and do you have true friends that you can hang out with? Now, I'm a widower, and so I lost my wife about 4 years ago. She passed away, had cancer for about 11 years, and so she was my best friend, right? We did stuff together. We watched movies, just about every night. And I have two kids. They're teenagers now, and we watch movies together. So they're my friends too. I mean, they're my kids, but so I'm their parent, but we still, they're grown now, so we. We're friends and all that. But as far as outside of this home, I don't really have friends that I can just call up, text, and say, hey, what are you doing tonight? You want to come over? Want to hang out? And I've reached out to a few of my so-called friends, in the last, few months. Hey, you want to come over? You want to do something some weekend? You want to hang out? You want to do something? And just, and they're like, yeah, we'll see, and I feel like I'm always the one reaching out, but they never, you know, get back to me, kind of thing. So I get ghosted on that deal. And so, I guess I'm confused a little bit, concerned. As I say, maybe it's me. Could be, but as I say, I feel like I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I'm wondering, do you all have problems finding friends, at this age level? Um, you know, the places that I think about friends, church. I've been going to this church for 4 years, almost 4 years. Be 4 years October, and I couldn't probably name 10 people in that church, and there's several hundred people. Now, and when it is a bigger church, it makes it a little more difficult. The one guy that I call my best friend, he calls me Kevin. My name's Keith, but he calls me Kevin most of the time. And another guy that used to talk to me, he called me Phil. One night he called me Phil 3 or 4 times one night, and I finally said my name is not Phil, it's Keith. And the guy calls me Kevin, that I consider my best friend. I know you say, why don't you just correct him? Well, it's kind of one of them interactions where it's like, hey, how you doing, man? Oh, good. I know his name, and I'll call his name. So, hey, Kevin, how's it going? I'm like, it's good. And I guess I'm afraid because he's like my only friend at that church, or my main friend. And I'm afraid I don't want to offend him. I guess like he can call me whatever he wants to. He's the only friend I got. So, but no, I mean I would if he said it in a different. It's just kind of like he says it in passing. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of awkward to go. My name's Keith. And so I guess I just feel weird about it. I would if he said it. More than once there. I guess I would say something. And like to say the guy called me Phil, man, he called me Phil one night several times, and I finally corrected him. But anyway, he even said, "Why didn't you say something?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. It was you were hollering at me from a distance a lot of times, and hey Phil, hey, that kind of thing." But I've been going there, like I say, 4 years, and I just haven't met anybody. The people I have met, I've met in like a small group, okay, and we had a small group, but it's been a few years ago. They don't have small groups all the time, and I think really that's the best way, excuse me, to meet people is at church is in a small group, unless it's a really small church, and then you maybe can meet people a little easier. But it's several hundred people. People are just they're in and they're out, and they're mingling in the lobby as they do every Sunday, but it's by they're mingling with their little group, their little clique and things like that. I hate to say clique, but it's kind of what it is. It's their group. It's people they know. It's their people they're comfortable with. Whereas, they don't know me, and so, it's weird and maybe a little. I feel a little creepy. I'm an old guy. I don't want to be the creepy old guy. To walk up to some woman or some guy even and just say, "Hey, my name's Keith. How's it going? How long you been going here? Just I don't know. Just what do you think of the sermon? I don't just start a conversation just out of the blue. Now if somebody's just kind of hanging around and might say, hey, how's it going? And hey, my name's Keith. Nice to meet you. And everything. One time here a while back, and I guess that's why I kind of shy away from it a little bit. And it don't scare me too much. I mean, I still do it, but we had a small group. Let me say this first. We had a small group, and so there was 3 or 4 or 5 couples in that group, and we got along good. We had a just a good time together. But then after the group was over, after that had went through its few weeks, I would see them at church, and it was awkward. I would speak to them, hey, how's it going? And they were like, hey, like they didn't know who I was almost, and then one of the other couples, or guys or girls, either one from that couple, I would speak to, and same thing. It was just weird, and then I would see them, and then they would just look at me like I was from outer space and wouldn't say nothing to me, and so I was just like, okay, so I kind of quit, interacting a little bit, like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, we didn't have a falling out or anything, and we seemed to have a good time, but just we're not in that group anymore, so it's weird, and so anyway, it's just kind of. It's just a strange deal. And so, what I was getting ready to say earlier was there was this one lady I seen in church one day, and I was I'd seen her from a distance. I'm like, oh, she's kind of cute, you know. And anyway, I was standing out in the lobby, and here she came. She's kind of come rushing through. Was getting ready. She was heading out the door, and I, you know, she ran right by me there, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" She said, "I've been better." And I was like, "Okay, I've been better." And that was it. And I never saw her again after that. I've never seen her at church since. And so I don't know. I may, you know, there may be something wrong with me. Like I say, maybe that I don't know if it's the hair. I don't know if it's the beard. You know, I don't know what it is. You know, it's not the cowboy hat because I don't wear that at church. I usually wear a ball cap to church. But you know, anyway, it's just weird. So I guess my thing is, you know, how do you meet people? You know, I work from home. Like I say, I work from, you know, work remote, so I don't have friends that I meet at work, and then, you know, I don't really. I've been 4 years at church, and I really don't have any friends there. It's crazy. Um, you know, there are groups that you can be a part of, I guess, in town. You know, but I don't even know what groups there. I mean, I've looked at some, but it's like, you know, it's got to be kind of a hobby that you're into. You know, and you don't want to just go there to make friends, but to, you know, to be around people and to, you know, to whatever that hobby is or a group, you know, is involved in. It has to be something you enjoy. I haven't really found what that is yet that I, you know, would want to be a part of. But anyway, I don't know. And it's not, to me, it's not about dating. You know, I've been let's say widowed for a little over 4 years now, and haven't been on a date in 20 some years. Um, Part of me would like to date, but right, you know, really, I just like to have a friend. I don't have to be. I don't care if it's a guy or a girl, just somebody, a buddy. You know, just to, like, say, pick up the phone and call and say, "Hey, how's it going? How's your day? You know, how's it been going? You know, would you like to hang out?" And I just really haven't found anybody like that I can do that with. And the ones that I have kind of reached out to that I have known, you know, there's always some weirdness there, you know. And so I'm like, when things get weird, I'm kind of done. I'll just be honest with you. Whether it's a, you know, a girl or a guy, if things get, you know, weird acting, I tend to want to, you know, back off, because, you know, weirdness to me is, there's something wrong, you know. And if we haven't had a, you know, if we hadn't had words, we haven't had a falling out, we haven't argued about something, you know, then what's going on? You know, we don't see each other that much or whatever. You know, it's like, uh, you know. So anyway, let me know in the comments. You know, you know, are you experiencing this same thing? Are you having trouble meeting people and making friends? You know, at 59, almost 60, it seems like I ought to have a ton of friends. You know, I can go back to high school, and matter of fact, some of my high school buddies they don't live here. I live in a different state now than where I grew up, but some of those guys, I mean, I can message them right now on Facebook and, you know, probably chat with them, you know, and everything. Well, maybe not now. It's midnight, almost 1 o'clock now, but in a normal at a normal time of night, you know, I could probably talk to them a little bit. But as far as hanging out, they live too far away. That's not going to happen. I have some people I used to work with years ago, but again, they live in a different state, you know, and I had a lot of friends then. But it's like where I live now, I just don't really have very many friends that I can just rely on and, you know, trust, or, like I say, just hang out with. There's just somebody to, whether it's trusted or not, just somebody to go, hey, let's go, you know, let's go run out to somewhere tonight. Let's go to town. Let's do something. You know, I wouldn't know the first person to call. I could go through my contact list, and there's a ton of contacts in my phone from, you know, people I knew at some other churches, and people I knew, you know, from my past. But there's nobody that I could think of, not one person that I could think of that, oh, I could just call them and they'd, you know, drop what they're doing and they'd hang out, you know. And of course, some of them was, you know, some of those folks are married. A lot of them are married, and so I get that they got, you know, responsibilities, and they need to be at home with their wives and families and all that. So I get that, but I don't know. It's just weird to me, and you know, I don't know what to do, because you know, I'm not at the end of my life. I feel like hopefully I got a lot of years left, and I would like to have some friends. It's one thing to live alone. But I mean, like I say, my kids are here. But I mean, as far as living alone, as an adult and not having a companion, a wife, spouse, that kind of thing, um, is can be lonely. But just like I said, it'd be nice just to have a friend. And so anyway, I don't know, if I'm missing something there, or like I say, it could just be, my own personality. I need to work on that. I don't know, maybe take a Udemy course or something. I don't know, and figure out how to be a better person and interact with people. I don't know, but anyway, listen. If you've got any suggestions, please feel free to let me know. Or if you're dealing with the same thing, we can, you can comment on this video and let me know. I have another channel called Keith's Place, and I do music videos, and I've got 27, almost 28,000 subscribers on that channel, and I do have people that comment, and we interact and stuff like that. So it's not like I don't have friends. I feel like I got friends in tons of different countries, as far as people that or what I'd consider a friend in a way. We've interacted and talked, but again, somebody that I can just pick up the phone and call, or somebody I can hang out with. I don't have that, and it would be nice to have that. We all need to be around people, and it's like church. You go to church, because you can stay home and listen to a preacher on TV, watch a preacher on TV and watch preaching and get the Word of God and read your Bible and pray and do all that. You go to church really because of people, to have the interaction of people. But if you're not really meeting anybody, again, it's not even about a date or anything like that. It's just meeting people that are, you consider friends, that you can, next Sunday, you at least see them on Sunday. My kids and my son, he has friends there. And so, he enjoys looking forward to seeing his friends, and they hang out and they have a good time and talk. And, and he I'll say, well, what y'all talk about? And he'll share that with me. And that at least makes me feel good that he's got that. But I just don't have any interaction with people, and I feel like when I do have interaction, it's because I've always initiated it. I don't have anybody initiating it, and I'll initiate it several times, and then I feel like I'm just the one initiating every time. I'm thinking, okay, do they really want to talk to me? Because I'm always the one that has to find them and seek them out and start the conversation, and because if I don't, they won't. And I've had that happen where I'd see them, and I didn't seek them out, and they sometimes wouldn't even speak to me, act like I wasn't there. And I'm like, okay, so maybe this isn't a real relationship, so I'm looking for a real relationship, a real friendship, something I can somebody's going to show up, and I hope, like I say, a long time from now, but show up at my funeral and they miss me. They're like, man, he was a good guy. We had a lot of fun together, and but I want to enjoy I want to have some fun with somebody and have similar interests and that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm going to let you go, and let me know in the comments, if you're going through some of those similar things. And I appreciate y'all tuning in, and be sure to check out other videos out here on our channel. And like I said, you got any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. And if you would, subscribe to us, give us a like if you like what we're doing, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.